We have Mike Slone, the Chief Experience Officer of Travelaer. So first off, what does that title mean?
It means that I'm responsible for crafting amazing product user experiences for travel companies. So I'm responsible for the vision and the creation of the products that we're building for mostly airlines, but the travel industry.
And it's not really a common title in like travel tech companies that much. You think it would be more kind of common given that we have a lot of users, right?
The travel industry in general would be much better off if there were more customer-centric oriented leaders in these companies, because ultimately it's the customer experience that's going to lead to more revenue and opportunities for airlines and other travel companies.
So speaking of the lovely airline experience that everyone likes to hate on in many ways, probably more warranted, I guess I should say. What are some of the areas that you see that we can address and that you guys are working to fix, in the near term, the urgent stuff?
Well, I mean, the first thing I tell all airlines that we work with is when is the last time you've actually gone to your own website or digital experience and used it? It's surprising that most people that are responsible for their own digital experience and website, they haven't even used it. And so other things are using tools like Full Story, doing unmoderated user testing so that you can get real customer feedback on what's actually happening on your site and what the common problems people have, and so that you can begin to correct those things. It's not always about doing a 2-year redesign or rebuilding of an airline platform. It's simply making quick changes to improve the user experience.
When you're going and doing the user testing, I think for a lot of people it's, maybe they have a team internally, but most likely not. But it is kind of a different thing to, in an unbiased way, listen to your users. So with that unmoderated view, how do you make sure that when you are asking your users that you're not leading them and you're just basically getting the answers you want to hear?
I've probably done now hundreds of, no more than that, thousands of user tests for probably 40, 50 airlines, starting in the beginning with Southwest Airlines. And what I've really learned is that you shouldn't do just user testing, once a year or once every 2 years. You should actually do it all the time. It should be something weekly that you're doing just to get real feedback from your customers. The reason we like unmoderated user testing the most is because you're essentially leaving the customer in front of their desktop, laptop, or mobile device, whatever it is, and you're asking them to complete a task. And while they're completing the task, you can see their screen, you can see what they're doing, and typically they're talking out loud. And you see where they click, you see their frustrations, and it's a real experience, as opposed to if you're sitting next to someone, they're not going to have the pure emotion or the frustration, or they're going to ask you questions, or you're going to lead them or something like that. So also unmoderated user testing, when you have a great user experience, or a bad user experience, you can share that with other people on a video and say, look, this is what we've learned. It can be time consuming, but I think it's something all airlines and travel companies should be doing seriously weekly.
And it's not something you have to have, the two-way glass or this whole thing. Would you recommend just, what are some small ways you could get started besides using your own website?
There's tons of software, web-based software out there. A company that we work with a lot is called Validately, and it's a few €100 a month, and they'll even do recruiting for you. So if you want to test in the UK versus the US, you pay a small fee per each of the person that they use to recruit. You can also ask survey questions in the middle of the task, but it's something that it's not expensive to do. It used to, when you have to set up a facility, recruit people weeks in advance, have them come in, pay them some sort of fee for participation. It was a real logistics nightmare. Now, if I wanted to test any airline site to get some feedback on it, we do, and that's what Travelaer does. The success of the products that we're building and the airlines we're helping, it comes from understanding everything to do with the airline, from the beginning of the user experience all the way through the technology to the APIs at the bottom or the web services at the bottom. Frequently, we'll do unmoderated user tests on airlines that aren't even our clients. If we see that an airline launches something new, we'll do our own user test on that, unmoderated user test, to learn from other people's websites. So it could be a competitive thing as well. So an airline could very easily do 5 unmoderated user tests on the airline's sites they think are the best that they could use for themselves.
So a deeper way to learn about your competitors.
Exactly.
Would you have 1 or 2 things that every website a successful website has, or is it like every airline has their own vibe and their own way of creating their website, or are there just some things that we all need to get right?
I think the most successful airline sites are the ones that keep things simple. Unfortunately, the way that airlines typically price using fare classes or fare families, this old sort of legacy technology that we're still sort of stuck with, often presents a user experience that's not simple. So some of the best actual websites that even test well are the ones that are the fastest, the simplest. It's sites like Ryanair, it's sites like EasyJet. These sites are super easy to use because they're presenting one price per seat type, or one price, and then from there they add all the bundles and different ancillaries that go along with it that you can pay extra for, as opposed to, say, showing 6 fare classes lined up. We've recently finished some of our own surveys and user testing just on this topic, and what we found is the reason, especially in Europe, more people go to online travel agent sites to book is when you go to an online travel agent site, they have one price. It's one price per flight. There's complete transparency, as opposed to the airline site where you have 6 options for one flight. People don't know what a super light is, an eco light, a premium light, fancy light, fancy premium, premium, business, whatever, first class. I mean, they understand a different seat type, but they don't. People get super confused on what am I getting with this? And we watch people on using Full Story and User Test, and they click out of the booking flow all of the time because of the trying to figure out what is included in my fare. Am I actually getting an extra bag for this? Is this underneath? Is it here? So simplification is key. Simplification and consistency throughout the digital experience. Making it easy for people to do things. Post-air booking is also very important. When we work with a lot of airlines in Europe, the non-low-cost carriers in particular, you still see 60–70% of their customers booking elsewhere on an online travel agent site. So the first experience that a customer actually has with that airline is when they come to log in to choose their seat or have to pay for a bag. So making sure that you build an amazing managed trip experience, so when those 60–70% of people that are going to book with an online travel agent come to your site, you can merchandise and have it very easy for them to do the things they need to do.
For the merchandising aspect, where does the search and kind of personalizing those results and making it easy, so if I do want to have some ancillary spend or I want to add things on, how does the search experience play into that? Is that kind of crucial to this whole being able to sell more to the customer? Yeah,
we've been doing some research now for the past 90 days or so, and what we looked at was simply the search widget or the booking widget. And if you look back, I think the first airline to ever book a flight online was Alaska Airlines in like '95, maybe Southwest or Delta around '97, '99. But what you see is this booking widget, search widget. And we're still using the same, most airlines today are using the same booking widget, search widget, literally 20 years later. No one has improved upon this technology really that's an airline. You've seen Virgin America do some very creative things with the first responsive website and making it much larger, and we're way past form elements, and the booking widget that most people are using is simply form elements, and you put things in, you hit search, and you go to another page. There's no reason to do that. I mean, airlines should be modeling their search more of a one-page sort of option, that like Google Flights or something. I mean, if you look at it, you put a few things in, and while you're putting things in, you're just getting content back. When you put in Nice to Paris in Google Flights, you get the price. As soon as you type PAR to the destination, you're getting the price. So, and then you're not having to leave that experience. Whereas today with airlines, it's put everything in and then go somewhere else. It's not right, hit back. So again, taking the fundamentals of what's important to an airline or a customer search and getting those things right is actually more important than throwing out all the big buzzwords related to big data, personalization, merchandising. All of these things are great, but they don't work unless you have the basics right. But obviously understanding who your customer is, if you can get them to log in and tie it to a frequent flyer program or some sort of account, make it easy for them to connect with you. I mean, it's still amazing to me today how many airlines have they make it complicated for the customer to log in. If you go to Amazon, you're always logged in, it seems like. I mean, maybe you have to re-put in your password for a credit card to actually purchase something at the end. If you go to Facebook, I mean, when's the last time Facebook logged you out? It just doesn't happen. You go to an airline site, and you could be on the home page and then go to the frequent flyer page, and you get logged out between those two. So airlines need to do a much better job of making sure that their customers are persistently logged in so that you can cater the experience to them. You know, don't offer them something they've already purchased or they're never going to purchase. But you know, those are some of the, I think, the basics that most airlines still aren't doing.
Yeah, if the user experience is not good, people won't buy anything. So it doesn't matter if you merchandise, if you got a lot of stuff to merchandise. If you know, if it stinks, no one wants to do it. Yeah.
You know, they go to a website and they leave quickly. I mean, consumers, customers in the travel space, they expect a lot. If you look in every other industry, music, movies, there's been some sort of revolution in terms of 20 years ago when we were, if we wanted to watch a movie, you know, we would actually, I think still back then, maybe Netflix was around, but we'd have to go down to a video store and we would take that VHS tape and we would put it in and watch it. Now we can get on our laptops or a mobile device and watch anything instantly. Go back to what I just said about the travel industry. In the same year, 1998, you have this booking widget. Go to, jump now, 20 years later, you have the same booking widget. It's time for airlines to do something different, and it's time for them to really challenge the way that customers are buying their products.
Now you have that VHS tape on your phone. Literally, you can download on Netflix, you know, hundreds of pieces, you know, of content. It's
exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
So going back to that, you know, let's round it out with that dynamic feedback loop. You know, I really think that's crucial because, you know, you oftentimes find yourself with like multiple criteria and you kind of do open tabs to see what happens if I was to fly Paris, Nice, and then the next city or something like that. So is there a technological limitation to do dynamic feedback on that kind of search experience, or is this just something that needs to be redesigned from the ground up, or walk us through that?
There's no tech limitation on that at all. I mean, frankly, I think for airlines to survive, they're going to have to become more like their own online travel stores. You know, I think some of the airlines that we've worked with on consulting projects think I'm crazy when I talk about this, but we know that when someone goes to an airline website, they're not going to go there and book the first time unless they're a loyal customer that's booking, you know, a weekly trip or a monthly trip or something like that, and they know that the flights are Nice to Paris, it's either EasyJet or Air France, I know that. But when you're taking a leisure trip or to a new city or something like that, you're never going to go to one airline site and book it. You're going to leave and go to a meta search or an OTA or something like that to book. So why not, if you're the airline, why not include the other flights from the other airlines on your own website? Why not tell people the price of the 4 other flights that go on the same route and tell them the elapsed time, point out the advantages of your flight where you can on your own website, and try to show that to the customer. The reason that online travel agents or sites, the big ones, are so successful is they invest way more into overall user experience. They learn from their customers, and they build technology that they know their customers want. And airlines today are really sort of held back by what the big sort of tech providers are doing. But there's a huge opportunity for airlines to do much, much more than they are today. And it starts with listening to your customers. And I know if you listen to your customers, you're going to come up with some great ideas, and then you just need the flexibility to build those things.
It's great. Great place to end it. Good words. I like that. Also, thank you guys for supporting this. It's been great to share the perspectives from such a well-rounded audience. So for everyone at home, we thank Travelaer for that. There'll be more clips out there on our YouTube channel from ITB 2018. And if you're watching live, we will be right back.